ODD TV.
Be sober. Be vigilant. Because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour.
What is pharmakeia? Pharmakeia is a form of the Greek root word from which we get our English words pharmacy, pharmacist, and pharmaceutical. According to Vine's expository dictionary, the definition of pharmakeia is the use of medicine, drugs, and spells, poisoning, and sorcery. Strong's Concordance backs this up with its similar list of definitions. The use or the administering of drugs, poisoning, sorcery, magical arts, often found in connection with idolatry and fostered by it, the deceptions and seductions of idolatry. The Bible makes use of the word pharmakeia 3 times, once in Galatians as witchcraft, and twice in Revelation as sorceries. Let's quickly go over Galatians 5:20. We will read verses 16 through 21 to get a better grasp on what's being said.
This I say then, walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusteth against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. But if ye be led of the Spirit, ye are not under the law. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revellings, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God.
Here, the word witchcraft denotes the use of drugs as a lust of the flesh. Now let's have a look at Revelation 18:23. Let's quickly read verses 21 through 24.
And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of harpers and musicians, and of pipers and trumpeters, shall be heard no more at all in thee. And no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee, and the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of prophets, and of saints, and of all that were slain upon the earth.
This part of Revelation tells us that Babylon will deceive all nations with the use or administration of drugs. Is anyone making the connection yet?
Bill Gates.
Though these are not officially classified as a drug, the dictionary definition of the word drug definitely applies to a substance used in the diagnosis, treatment, or prevention of a disease or as a component of a medication. Every major pharmaceutical company in the world is whipping up toxic chemical concoctions that they can label as when you think about it, all the Hollywood tropes and cliches, like the way they portray fictitious witches when creating magic potions, isn't too far off from reality when drug companies create a new vaccine. Some ingredients in these, as listed by the CDC on their website, include aluminum, which causes Alzheimer's disease, formaldehyde, aka embalming fluid, thimerosal, which contains 49.6% mercury, acetone, which is a solvent in nail polish remover, plus many other highly questionable chemicals. These are toxins which are never to be consumed orally, but in they are injected directly into the body. Also used in vaccines are and animal parts, including those from chickens, pigs, dogs, monkeys, horses, rabbits, cows, etc. Is this not a veritable witch's brew of chemicals, organisms, and animal parts? Basically, pharmacy mixes up different types of poison, patents it, packages it, and claims that it can treat certain diseases. The main problem with that system is that poison is poison. Pharmaceutical drugs and vaccines are extremely toxic, and when introduced into the body, have negative effects on the system from head to toe. These are not just side effects or unintended sicknesses or diseases. These are direct effects because these things don't belong in the body to begin with, so putting them in there is going to directly affect it.
Paracelsus.
Known as the father of toxicology, Paracelsus was an avid occultist who thought that metals such as mercury, lead, tin, copper, and gold could purify the body. He would often try to heal people from disease using quicksilver, also known as mercury. Many died as a result of the treatment given by Paracelsus. Yet today, we still see things like mercury in our vaccines. That's actually because of Paracelsus. Besides him being a physician and a philosopher, he was also a metallurgist and a hardcore alchemist, and that's why he was so intent on using metals in his work as a physician. The main objectives of alchemy are to transmute base metals like lead and mercury into gold, to find a universal cure for all ailments, to find a universal solvent that could break down anything including gold, and finally to find an elixir to prolong life. A highly sought-after object known as the Philosopher's Stone could assist with all of these goals. Another sought-after substance in alchemy is what's called azoth. Defined as the universal remedy of Paracelsus, azoth was considered to be a universal medication or universal solvent, and was sought for in alchemy. Similar to another alchemical idolized substance, alkahest, azoth was the aim, goal, and vision of many alchemical works. Its symbol was the caduceus. The term, while originally a term for an occult formula sought by alchemists, much like the Philosopher's Stone, became a poetic word for the element mercury. Keep this all in mind. I found some incredible connections to do with all of this information.
Medicinal symbols.
The bowl of Hygeia is one of the most widely recognized symbols of pharmacy. In Greek mythology, Hygeia is the daughter and assistant of Aesculapius, the god of medicine and healing. Hygeia's symbol consists of a bowl containing a medicinal potion with the serpent of wisdom drinking from it. The serpent of wisdom also appears on the rod of Aesculapius, which is the symbol of medicine. Aesculapius is the Greek god of medicine and son of Apollo. In the United States, the caduceus is commonly used as the symbol for the healthcare industry, even though it's associated with the Greek god Hermes and has nothing to do with medicine. Skilled in persuasion and bartering, and also known as a trickster, Hermes is the patron of merchants, traders, thieves, liars, and gamblers. But here's where it gets crazy. It's 100%, absolutely, positively, no accident that the caduceus is used as the symbol of medicine in the divided states of Zombieland, and some other places too, but it's abundant in the US. Have a look at the image of Baphomet. There's a caduceus representing its male anatomy. Baphomet is androgynous, meaning it's both male and female. It's a hermaphrodite. The word hermaphrodite comes from Hermaphroditus, who was the son of Hermes and the goddess of love known as Aphrodite, also known as Mercury and Venus. Hermaphroditus was one day physically merged with his wife, resulting in a body that was equally both male and female in nature. Here's an image of Hermaphroditus, or simply hermaphrodite, in some old alchemical occult literature, and There's a snake in one hand and 3 snakes in a chalice in the other. Its father, Hermes, aka Mercury, carries a caduceus, which also symbolizes the phallus of the Baphomet. And the Baphomet is a representation of what's known as the Great Work in alchemy. On its arms are the words solve and coagula, which is the alchemical process. It basically means broken down and rebuilt. Everything connects and ties together so perfectly here. It gets even crazier, I can't lie. I blew my own mind working on this project. I'm not saying I'm the first one to figure this out, but I did indeed figure this out on my own with no prior knowledge to any of it. So check this out. One of the goals of the satanic ruling class is to make society sexless and doing away with traditional men and women. This, in turn, is a form of depopulation and a clever way to gradually destroy the family unit. They are achieving this through the use of everyday products that contain hormone disruptors, aka endocrine disruptors, which are chemicals that interfere with the body's endocrine system and produce adverse developmental, reproductive, neurological, and immune effects in both humans and wildlife. The damage is believed to be most severe during prenatal or early pregnancy exposure.
From the day of conception until an individual is born or hatched, the development of each stage of life is fully under the control of hormones. Changes that happen during development are far less reversible than those occurring in an adult. You can't go back and rewire the brain.
Also thought to have the ability to disrupt hormones and confuse the body are WI38 is the cell lines from a female used to cultivate viruses used in vaccines. When you inject the DNA from a female carrying 2 X chromosomes into a male who already carries 1 X chromosome and a weaker Y chromosome, you get an overload of X chromosome, which makes males believe they are actually females. MRC5 is the cell lines from a male, and this can affect girls in the same way. Whether it's the bowl of Hygeia, the rod of Asclepius, or the caduceus, it's rather fitting that snakes are used as the symbol for medicine, since it was a serpent that deceived Eve in the Garden of Eden. Not to mention Revelation 12:9 says, "And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world." It all ties together. Here, Satan is clearly established as the serpent that deceives the whole world. Revelation 18:23 again states that, "For by thy pharmakeia were all nations deceived." And pharmakeia is represented by a snake, or snakes if you live in the divided states. Plus, snakes are always present whenever a hermaphrodite is portrayed. Not to mention the caduceus is toted by Hermes, also known as Mercury, which has been put in people's bodies since the time of Paracelsus. Pretty much everything that we've gone over stems from Greek mythos and traditions, and I haven't even mentioned the Hippocratic Oath that all new physicians take when they finally become a doctor. So that's about it for part 1. From the looks of it, we are literally living in the middle of an event of biblical proportions. Stay tuned for part 2, where I'll go over drugs and the people that use them and abuse them. Drugs and alcohol leave users vulnerable to demonic attack, oppression, and even possession, but always under demonic influence. The term "under the influence" doesn't mean the substance itself. You are under the influence of spiritual wickedness and will do things that you would never normally do when you're sober. Why do you think alcohol is referred to as spirits? This has been ODD. See you guys on the next one.
But the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober, and watch unto prayer.